British colonialism cast a long shadow over the Indian subcontinent. For over 2 centuries, the British East India Company and later the British Crown ruled India. They exploited its resources, imposed their systems of governance, and suppressed local traditions. This exploitation, however, sowed the seeds of Indian nationalism. Indians from all walks of life, Hindus and Muslims alike, began to unite against British rule. They yearned for self-determination, for the freedom to shape their own destiny. Early nationalist movements, though fragmented, laid the groundwork for the struggle to come. Leaders emerged, demanding greater autonomy and advocating for India's right to self-rule. The Indian National Congress, founded in 1885, became a powerful voice for these aspirations. It advocated for constitutional reforms and greater Indian participation in government. The early decades of the 20th century witnessed a surge in nationalist sentiment. The struggle for independence gained momentum, fueled by growing resentment against British policies and a yearning for self-governance. The desire for a united and independent India became a shared dream for millions. As the Indian independence movement gained strength, so too did religious tensions between Hindus and Muslims. The British policy of divide and rule exacerbated existing fissures within Indian society. By highlighting religious differences and pitting communities against each other, the British administration sought to maintain its grip on power. This strategy, while cynical, proved tragically effective. The rise of communal politics further inflamed tensions. The Muslim League, formed in 1906, initially focused on safeguarding Muslim interests within the framework of a united India. However, under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the League's stance shifted. It began demanding a separate Muslim state, arguing that the Muslim minority would be marginalized in a Hindu-majority independent India. This demand for a separate Muslim homeland, Pakistan, gained traction among some Muslims who feared for their future in a post-colonial India. The stage was set for a tragic partition. The outbreak of the World War II in 1939 proved to be a turning point in India's struggle for independence. Britain, embroiled in a global conflict, demanded India's support in the war effort. The Indian National Congress, led by Mahatma Gandhi, offered conditional support, demanding a guarantee of independence in return. This demand was refused by the British, leading to the launch of the Quit India movement in 1942. The movement, marked by mass protests and civil disobedience, was brutally suppressed by the British. However, the war had taken a toll on Britain's resources and its global standing. The demand for Indian independence could no longer be ignored. The Labour government, elected in Britain in 1945, recognised the need for a negotiated settlement. The stage was set for India's independence, but the question of how this independence would be achieved remained a contentious one. The spectre of partition loomed large. In February 1947, Lord Louis Mountbatten was appointed as the last Viceroy of India, tasked with overseeing the transition to independence. The situation on the ground was deteriorating rapidly. Communal violence was escalating, and the chasm between the Congress and the Muslim League seemed insurmountable. It became increasingly clear that a united independent India was not a feasible option. With a heavy heart, Mountbatten concluded that partition was the only way to prevent a full-blown civil war. On June 3, 1947, the Mountbatten Plan was announced, outlining the partition of British India into 2 independent dominions, India and Pakistan. The plan provided for the division of Punjab and Bengal, the 2 provinces with significant Muslim populations. It also included provisions for the partition of the armed forces and the division of assets. The date for the transfer of power was set for August 15, 1947, just 10 weeks away. The decision to divide a nation hastily without adequate preparation would have catastrophic consequences. Section 5. A line in the sand. The Radcliffe Line and the chaos of partition. The responsibility of dividing Punjab and Bengal along religious lines fell to a British lawyer, Sir Cyril Radcliffe. With limited knowledge of the region's complexities and a mere 5 weeks to complete his task, Radcliffe set about drawing the boundary that would come to be known as the Radcliffe Line. His task was further complicated by the lack of reliable population data and the intense pressure from both Hindu and Muslim communities seeking to maximize their territory. The Radcliffe Line, published just 2 days before independence, sliced through the heart of Punjab and Bengal, dividing communities that had coexisted for centuries. The partition, hastily implemented and poorly planned, triggered one of the largest mass migrations in human history. Millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs found themselves on the wrong side of the border, forced to abandon their homes and ancestral lands. The ensuing chaos and violence were unprecedented. Section 6. Princely states and the Kashmir question, seeds of conflict sown. As British India was being partitioned, the rulers of the princely states, semi-autonomous entities within the empire, were given the option to join either India or Pakistan. Most of the princely states acceded to either India or Pakistan based on geographic proximity and religious demographics. However, the fate of a few princely states, most notably Kashmir, became a source of intense dispute. The Maharaja of Kashmir, Hari Singh, a Hindu ruler of a Muslim-majority state, hesitated to join either dominion. His indecision, coupled with an armed uprising by Pathan tribesmen from Pakistan, led to the First India-Pakistan War in 1947. India intervened militarily in Kashmir, and the war ended with a ceasefire line that divided the region. The Kashmir conflict remains unresolved to this day, a constant source of tension between India and Pakistan. The partition's legacy of territorial disputes continues to cast a long shadow over the region. Section 7. Exodus, mass migration and unprecedented violence. The partition of India was accompanied by horrific violence and bloodshed. As millions of Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs fled their homes in search of safety, they were targeted in brutal communal riots. Trains carrying refugees across the newly created borders became death traps filled with the bodies of those massacred by mobs. Villages were razed, women were abducted and assaulted, and entire communities were wiped out. The scale of the violence was staggering. Estimates of the death toll vary widely, ranging from 200,000 to 2 million. The violence left an indelible scar on the psyches of survivors, who carried the trauma of displacement, loss, and unimaginable brutality. The partition, etched in blood and tears, became a stark reminder of the human cost of division and hatred. Section 8. Scars of division, the enduring legacy of partition. The partition of India was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the subcontinent. It led to the creation of 2 new nation-states, India and Pakistan, but at a tremendous human cost. The violence and displacement that accompanied partition left an enduring legacy of suspicion, mistrust, and animosity between the 2 countries. The partition also had a profound impact on the social fabric of the region. Families were torn apart, and communities that had coexisted for generations were divided along religious lines. The trauma of partition continues to haunt the collective memory of both India and Pakistan, shaping their domestic politics and foreign policies. Section 9. Echoes of the past. Partition's impact on contemporary South Asia. 75 years after independence, the legacy of partition continues to cast a long shadow over South Asia. The territorial dispute over Kashmir remains a flashpoint between India and Pakistan, leading to numerous wars and ongoing tensions. The rise of religious nationalism in both countries has further exacerbated tensions, making dialogue and reconciliation elusive. The scars of partition are a stark reminder of the human cost of division and the dangers of communal hatred. The partition of India serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of tolerance, understanding, and peaceful coexistence. It is a legacy that continues to shape the political, social, and cultural landscape of South Asia.